Welcome to Lair the Alchemist, where we discuss all things heavy metal and hard rock. On today's episode, my favorite and least favorite songs from the first 5 Metallica albums. You say, why just the first 5? Well, honestly, I got off the Metallica train really with the Black Album, although I did get that album, and there are things I do like about that album. I made a video in defense of the Black Album. I'll leave a link to that in the description. But when it came to Load, Reload, I had checked out on Metallica. Now I do really like the last 2 albums. Their last 2 studio albums, I think, are really good. I really like those. So maybe at some point I'll do my favorite and least favorite from those. But I thought I would just keep it to the first 5. Those were the ones that I was most engaged with. So that's everything up to and including the Black Album. Not easy to do because some of these Metallica albums like Master of Puppets and Ride the Lightning I think are fantastic. Master of Puppets, one of the greatest metal albums maybe of all time, at least probably in my top 10. So this wasn't easy to do. Wasn't easy to pick my favorite. Wasn't easy to pick my least favorite, but I thought I would challenge myself and go for it. So I'm going to go backwards here. I'm going to start with the Black Album, and my favorite song from this may be an unpopular opinion because it's one of those songs that got played like crazy. MTV played the video like mad. You hear it all over the radio, but The Unforgiven. Always loved that song. The acoustic guitar intro thing I think is awesome. That sound at the beginning, I'm sure what that is, like a horn or something, playing like a reversed, like a trumpet or something, but like reversed, I think is super cool. The bell in it is awesome. I just love the mood of it. I love the way it builds. I love the lyrics and everything in it. So that's my favorite song from the Black Album. My least favorite song is another song that, yes, has just been overplayed. But I never liked this song even from the first time I heard it, and that's Nothing Else Matters. It's just so bare bones. It just doesn't work for me. And oddly enough, they just did like a massive anniversary for the Black Album, and they had a bunch of artists record different songs from the record and do their own versions. And I think it was Miley Cyrus that did a version of Nothing Else Matters that I thought was actually really, really good. It sort of surprised me. So I don't know, maybe it's just a performance on here. It just never liked that song, never did anything for me. If I never, and it got played to death all over MTV and the radio. Okay, next, going backwards here, is And Justice for All. My favorite song on this is Harvester of Sorrow. I just love the main riff in it, all the riffs in it. I was listening to this record as I was thinking of this list, and I haven't listened to this on vinyl in some time. And I was surprised at how it sounded much better than I remembered it sounding. This album gets a really justifiable bad rap for not having any bass guitar on it. But I tell you, and it gets a bad rap that the drums sound bad on it. But I tell you what, I thought that the drums sounded really good, and just the drums and the guitar, it was pretty heavy, man. Like, there was a lot of low end happening. I mean, it was all coming from the kick drum, basically. But like in this song, man, it was just really tight riffing. I like this album in general, and I like that they were sort of pushing themselves, getting a little bit progressive, if you will. They sort of corrected that, or a reaction to that maybe was the Black Album, where they swung a little bit too far in the other direction. I wish they could have found a medium, maybe dialed it back a little bit from the more progressive stuff on here. But man, there's just killer riffs on this. I love James's vocal delivery on Harvester of Sorrow. It's just such a heavy song, and the way the guitar and drums are locked in, it's just really, really cool. All right, my least favorite song is the song that comes after Harvester of Sorrow, The Frayed Ends of Sanity. Ugh, I hate that, like, whoa-ee-oh thing at the beginning of that. That is so corny. Why did they put that in there? It just sounds so silly. And if there's a complaint about this album, it's that some of the songs are too long and maybe they don't really go anywhere. And I don't really agree with that with a lot of this record. For instance, one I just mentioned, Harvester of Sorrow. I think is great. To live is to die is fantastic. So there's some really long songs on here, and the title track and Justice for All that I think are fantastic. But the frayed ends of sanity, it just kind of doesn't go anywhere. It's not that I hate the song, but it just kind of sounds like they were just pasting riffs together, and it doesn't quite work for me. That's one where I think them trying to be progressive and everything, it just doesn't come across very well. Okay, Master of Puppets. Wow, this is an amazing record. I've done a video on this. I'll put it in the description. Favorite song, maybe it's overplayed a little bit, but Master of Puppets. It's classic. When you hear it come on a PA system before a show, everybody's getting into it. That halftime thing of Master is just pure heavy metal. I love it. There's so many cool changes in the song. They all work. It's just super catchy. All the riffs are great. Love it. It's one of these enshrined in stone metal songs, legendary classic metal songs that if you're maybe had somebody who had never heard heavy metal before in their life, you would play that song for them. Yeah, maybe we've heard it too many times, but man, it still sounds good to me, and I love it. I think it's an absolutely classic, all-time classic metal song. Least favorite song, this might surprise people a little bit from this, is Welcome Home Sanitarium. I never really, it's not that I don't like that song, but it never quite gets off the ground quite the way some of these other songs do on here, like Leper Messiah and Disposable Hero. There's just something about Welcome Home Sanitarium that it feels like it drags a little bit for me, and it's never been my favorite on this record. So, okay, next we are at, where are we here? We are at Ride the Lightning. Favorite song on here is Creeping Death. Killer riffs, love the lyrics. James's vocals during this period, the way he was so a little bit higher pitched and a little bit more screechy in his voice, it just totally works. The aggression in it, it's so tight. Just love it. I could have went with For Whom the Bell Tolls too. That was really hard because that's an absolute classic also. Those two are basically dead tied for me, so I'm going to cheat here and say For Whom the Bell Tolls and Creeping Death. I couldn't really pick between the two because they're just awesome. For Whom the Bell Tolls is much like Master of Puppets. It's one of those songs that is just legendary, comes on before a show, everybody goes crazy. When they play it live, they go crazy. The bass part in it is nuts. All right, if you're going to force my hand, I'm going to go with For Whom the Bell Tolls. So I'm making a change here right on the spot. I'll say For Whom the Bell Tolls. Again, you see how hard it is to pick on a great album like this. Least favorite, Escape. It just sort of sticks out a little bit on this album. Not quite sure what they were going for with that song. It's a little too melodic in the chorus for me, and it just sort of sticks out on all of this great stuff like the title track and everything, and that one just sort of sticks out a little bit like a sore thumb. All right, the first album, Kill 'Em All. My favorite is The Four Horsemen. Oh man, killer riffs. I know Dave Mustaine had a hand in this, mechanics, landed up pieces of it on the Megadeth album. Man, just the riffs in this are just so killer. And that halftime thing, doom, doom, gada, doom, doom, that thing with like the descending thing and Cliff's climbing up on his bass is just so cool, man. Love it. Just an absolutely killer song. The lyrics, just awesome, man. Love it. All right, least favorite. I went with Metal Militia. Not that I don't like it. It is a cool song. But there's so many great songs on here that Metal Militia just kind of blows by me a little bit, and it just doesn't jump out to me like the other songs do on here, like Four Horsemen, for instance. Four Horsemen is just absolutely killer. All those riffs and the different gear changes. I always say I love songs that have like gear changes in them, and the Four Horsemen is a good example of that. So, all right, there you go. Favorite, least favorite from the first 5 Metallica albums. Let me know your favorite and least favorite. You can put a plus and a minus if you want, before the songs, just a little shorthand thing or however you want to do it. Let me know down below what yours are. Let me know what you thought of my picks. Make sure you hit like and subscribe. And until we see you again, make sure you stay heavy, stay metal.